Am I the antagonist for asking my sister to not shake my baby? My partner and I live in our own house, and my sister also lives with us. Recently, he and I decided to start trying for our first baby, and I decided to let my sister know since she will likely still be in the house when the baby is born. About my sister. I love her a lot, but we are very different from each other. I have autism, struggle with socializing, and prefer quiet and spending time with family. My sister has ADHD, is very social, opinionated, quick-witted, and always cracking jokes. She is 21 and I am 24. We had a period where we were estranged and didn't talk for years, but now we have managed to rebuild our relationship and become close again. Last night I got a little annoyed because every time I brought up wanting children, my sister has been highly critical of me and my partner. She said we shouldn't have kids for various reasons, but what really bothers me is her jokes about bullying my kids or having issues with them because she doesn't like the names we picked out. She has also made jokes about treating them coldly and ignoring them to cause trauma. Another thing that bothers me is how she handles her pet cat, who is not even a year old yet. She frequently shakes him, drops him, and throws him on her bed. She calls her cat stupid, retarded, or dumb, and then claims it's just a joke. All of these things have made me worried about having her around my baby because I want my children to be safe. So I asked her to be gentle and not shake the baby. However, she got extremely offended. We had a lengthy discussion where she told me I need to think about the implications of the questions I ask, because now that I've thrown that accusation out there, she wants nothing to do with my baby and doesn't want to be near them. I tried to explain my reasoning, but she said that pets are different from babies, and I shouldn't expect her to treat a baby the way she treats her cat. I explained that her jokes make me uncomfortable, but she said she feels she can never talk to me properly because my autism makes me incapable of understanding tone, and she doesn't want to change that aspect of herself. I'm genuinely confused, and I do acknowledge that I struggle with social interaction and unintentionally hurting people's feelings. However, my concerns about her were genuine, and they were bothering me. I can't just ignore my feelings. What does anyone think? I'm happy to answer more questions if needed. I want to know if I did something wrong, if she did, or possibly both. It is perfectly valid and reasonable to express concerns about your sister's behavior towards your future child, especially considering her treatment of her own pet. Your sister's jokes about bullying and traumatizing your child are inappropriate and not something to take lightly. It's disappointing that your sister got defensive and refused to acknowledge your concerns. It's important for her to understand that her behavior is distressing to you, as well as potentially harmful to your child. While it's true that everyone has different ways of expressing themselves and dealing with things, it's not acceptable for her to dismiss your concerns by blaming it on your autism. It may be worth trying to have a calm and open conversation with your sister again, emphasizing that you love her and want her to be a positive presence in your child's life, but that certain behaviors need to change. However, ultimately, the safety and well-being of your child should be your top priority. If your sister continues to dismiss your concerns and refuses to take responsibility for her actions, you may need to reconsider her involvement in your child's life. Am I the antagonist for deciding to talk to mother-in-law about her response to my husband, 28, when I requested disconnection their bank account? 2 years ago, my now husband proposed to me. During a conversation, my mother-in-law exclaimed that if she wants, she can find out what the ring cost since she has access to his account. Although I wasn't mad upon further reflection, it didn't sit well with me because it shows a lack of boundaries. Fast forward to after our wedding last December, I asked my husband to disconnect his account from his mother's. Mind you, this is the account where his paychecks always go. I brought up this issue last spring, but nothing was done. In the last couple of months, I've been more persistent about it, which has resulted in small fights. He insists that it doesn't affect his life and that she isn't touching his money. I explained that my concern is not about her touching his money, but rather the fact that she has visibility into our household through his account. This account was created for him as a teenager, and she hasn't bothered to disconnect it as he transitioned into adulthood. As an alternative, I suggested that he open another account where his paychecks can go if he doesn't want to confront her about it. However, he refused. Last week, he finally asked his mother to disconnect their accounts, explaining that I am worried about her visibility into his finances. Her response was, "Why do I care?" This response led me to believe that she was upset with my request. For me, the issue is not about money, and I didn't want my intentions to be misunderstood. Personally, I find it strange that at 28 years old, his account is still connected to hers. I also suspect that she uses this financial connection to assert some sort of power. For example, she threw a fit when he asked years ago to move to my phone account for a buy one get one free deal. After hearing her response, I called her to explain in my own words why I want his account disconnected from hers. She hung up after exclaiming that the account doesn't have much money in it and asking why I care. She also mentioned that his brother, who has $80K in his account, still has his account connected to hers. Her response further validated my concerns, as I fear that she may blab about my husband's financial matters to others since she can see them. After she hung up, I sent her a text message to finish expressing my thoughts and clarify that my intention wasn't to upset her. Instead, I wanted to provide clarity. However, she called my husband and forwarded him my text message. My husband believes that I went too far and basically harassed her, and that I shouldn't have spoken to her about it since he already had. As Christmas approaches, I know we will most likely go to her house. Out of respect for my husband, I will go, but I refuse to engage in any conversation with her besides saying hi and bye. Would it be wrong for me to not communicate with her there and inform my husband in advance that I do not want to participate in any gift exchanges? It is completely understandable that you feel uncomfortable with your husband's account being connected to his mother's. Financial matters can be sensitive and personal, and it is not unreasonable to want boundaries in place. It is concerning that his mother reacted defensively and seemed upset at your request to disconnect the accounts, which suggests that she may be using it as a way to exert control or access information. Your concerns about privacy and her potentially sharing financial information with others are valid. You handled the situation appropriately by expressing your concerns to your husband and later attempting to have a conversation with his mother to clarify your intentions. It is not harassment to have a discussion about boundaries and privacy. However, it might have been better to involve your husband in this conversation rather than communicating solely with his mother. Regarding your decision to limit communication with her during gatherings and not participate in gift exchanges, that is your personal choice. It is important to prioritize your own emotional well-being and set boundaries for yourself. Just make sure to communicate this clearly to your husband so that there are no misunderstandings. Am I the antagonist for feeling destroyed? My mother stole and damaged my wedding dress? When I was 16 years old, my parents kicked me out of the house. I quickly packed a few bags and moved in with my best friend and his parents. Before I left, my grandmother had given me her wedding dress, which I cherished and hoped to wear on my own wedding day. After being kicked out, I returned to collect the rest of my belongings and discovered that my mother and sister had rummaged through my room and taken what they wanted. One of the items they took was my wedding dress in 2021. My mother claimed that she took it to protect it from being damaged or stolen since the house where I was staying was often left unlocked. She planned to have it cleaned and boxed, but she told me that I shouldn't have it because it was a family heirloom. After 2 years of fighting with my mother, I finally got the dress back today. The threat of involving the police and taking her to court pressured her into returning it. I even had to ask my 92-year-old grandmother to provide a recording confirming that she had given me the dress. Despite her age and failing memory, she clearly recalled giving it to me 2 years ago. She even expressed how she wished to see me wear it on my wedding day, as she might not live long enough to witness it. Now, for the most part, I've omitted the many details and complications involved in this situation. However, when I opened the box, I discovered that the dress was ruined. It had suffered thousands of dollars worth of damage. My mother went on a rant about how she had spoken to my grandma and believed that anyone in the family should be allowed to use the dress. This contradicted the recording where I specifically asked my grandma about her own wedding dress, and she confirmed that she had given it to me. She never mentioned anything about lending it out to others. She affirmed that it was mine and mine alone. I informed my sister that after I wear the dress for my own wedding, I might consider lending it to her. This dress issue arose because my mother wanted to clean and protect it from damage or theft, only to steal the dress from me, clean it, and cause irreparable damage. Now, my whole family, including my partner, believes that I am overreacting and being overly dramatic in my anger and sense of betrayal. However, I strongly believe that I have every right to be angry. My mother stole and damaged my dress, and then tried to turn it into a shared wedding dress, despite it being specifically given to me. When I confronted her about it, she even made a dismissive comment, insinuating that it was a risk I should have anticipated when getting an old wedding dress dry cleaned. I firmly believe that it is entirely her responsibility to fix the dress, and I will demand that she covers the costs of repairs. I'm exhausted from feeling invalidated, but I really need to know, was I in the wrong here? You have every right to feel angry and betrayed by your mother's actions. She took something that was given to you by your grandmother, claiming it was to protect it, but instead she stole and damaged it. Moreover, she tried to manipulate the situation by suggesting it should be a communal wedding dress, even though your grandmother clearly stated it was yours alone. Your mother's nonchalant response and attempt to brush off the damage further highlight her lack of consideration for your feelings and the importance of the dress to you. It is absolutely fair for you to demand that she covers the cost of repairing the dress, as she is the one responsible for its damage. It's unfortunate that your family, including your partner, seem to be invalidating your emotions in this situation. They should be more understanding and supportive of your rightful anger and disappointment. It's essential to communicate with them and express how this has affected you emotionally. Don't let anyone undermine your feelings or downplay the significance of what was done to you. Seek closure and resolution by holding your mother accountable for her actions and making sure the dress is repaired. Am I the antagonist for flipping out after he ate my son's food? I am a 30-year-old female. I have a 13-year-old son named Colby with my ex-husband. Last year, my son desperately wanted to go to Japan because his father currently lives there, and my son had been there multiple times for visits during the summer and fell in love with it. He begged me to let him live with his dad for a year, and while it broke my fucking heart and gave me extreme anxiety, I agreed. I couldn't say no. He went there for a year and came back home in August of this year. As many could imagine, Japan has much different cuisines than the US does, and while my son wouldn't complain about anything I put in front of him, he did make a few comments about missing Japanese dishes. So I went through a few websites, got a hold of his dad, etc., and I was able to get some of the ingredients and recipes shipped out to me. His favorite one is some type of noodles with a dark brown spicy sauce. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but since it's his favorite, I have his father send me out the noodles and sauce so my son can prepare it for himself at home, as well as buying him the fresh ingredients needed. Well, my husband's daughter, 9, and I asked Colby the day before yesterday if she could have some of his noodles. He said no. He only said no because he's made the dish for her before and she wasted the entire thing because it was too spicy. So she doesn't like it. And therefore he said no and reminded her that she didn't like it. Before my daughter could even respond, my husband pipes up with, "Give her some, there's no reason why you can't share." So I stepped in and said no and that she's already had it and threw it in the trash, and this is his food. He doesn't have to share his food. He just kind of walks off. Well, this morning my son asked where all of his noodles were, 4 packages, and my husband says I ate them. I asked why the fuck he would do that, and he said because I wanted to. To me, this felt like a big fuck you because I told him my son didn't have to share his food, so I did lose it. He did this on purpose. I just know it. I told him he was a fucking pig on a power trip, and he should be ashamed of himself for eating my son's food. He says I'm ridiculous and I'm an asshole for calling him a pig because he's overweight, simply because he was hungry and wanted to eat. Everyone else says I'm an asshole too, as I said. Am I the asshole? Your son specifically asked for those noodles and sauce to be sent from Japan so he could enjoy his favorite dish at home. He even takes the effort to prepare it himself with the fresh ingredients. It was fair for him to decline sharing with your husband's daughter because she previously wasted it and didn't like it. Your husband, on the other hand, showed a complete lack of respect by intentionally eating all of your son's noodles, despite being aware of his preference and the effort that went into getting them. This action was selfish and disrespectful, making him the AH in this situation. Your reaction may have been heated due to the frustration and protectiveness you felt towards your son, but it is understandable given the circumstances.